Welcome back to the MG YouTube channel. I'm Malachi Greb, CEO of Elite Automation Elite Properties and an investor in Tesla. And today I have a video for you guys on how to navigate getting your first initial wealth. And the key thing that I want to point out in this video is that you have to start practicing some wealth generation thing, right? Because even for myself, with the things that I'm doing, for example, I have like Elite Automation that's doing, millions of dollars in revenue every year, and somebody will say, oh, well, this person's doing this big thing, right? And we're also doing like the property side of things, okay? Well, there's some things that we're doing in the property side of things that are like, they're new and they feel, let's say, intimidating. They're new and they feel, intimidating. And so this is why you have to go and you have to practice things. Because even somebody like me who's, in meetings with CEOs of companies and dealing with engineering directors and, I'm dealing with high level individuals and people who, maybe deserve respect or just a high ranking individual, right? Like those conversations and those meetings are potentially delicate meetings. One, especially when they have an impact on your business and your business's livelihood, the way those conversations and stuff have to be handled, and just like the operations of like Elite Automation and its complexities, like it's way more complex than, let's say, for instance, the properties company. But properties is again, it's so much easier, but until you practice doing something, that comfort level will never come. And this is the biggest thing that I really want to push into in this video. You have to start practicing. What does practicing mean? It means maybe you're watching YouTube videos like this and you're learning information, okay? This is something that I've done for years. As you start to learn things, you need to start executing on things as well. Meaning, for example, properties. That might be as simple as starting to look at properties, right? Go on Zillow.com and just check out all the properties in your area. Find out what's for sale currently. Find out, what sold for recent or, in the past, and try to get like comps and stuff like that and see what the Zestimate is of a property. And then go find your local, sales record, or Zillow actually mentions it as well a lot of times. What the last sell price was for that property, so that way you can start getting an idea of, oh, this property sold for $50,000 in 2008, and now it's being sold for $200,000. And it starts to give you some perspective of like, holy crap. For example, now we're like actually acquiring properties and stuff, and so let's say first we didn't get a property. Okay, we didn't get a property. Somebody else won the property. We bid on the property or something like that. And then we'll go check and see, like, what did that person end up paying for it? Was it $5,000 more than us, $10,000 more than us, $20,000 more than us, right? And there's some deals where, let's say, for instance, they paid $20,000 more than us, and we're like, okay, well, we wasn't going to pay $20,000 more than us, or more than what we did. Or it could be a plausibility they spent $5,000 more. Like, man, we should have just offered $5,000 more, or we should have put some other contingency in our offer that just made our offer more appealing than the guy before us. And this is all because of practice, right? We're just practicing, you're practicing purchasing properties, practicing looking up properties, practicing putting in offers on properties, and everything's a practice, right? That's why they call a doctor, a practice. Technically, everything everybody does is a practice. Every day you're practicing something and you're learning something new and you're exercising the muscles of that thing that you're doing. And for example, so I'll just give you an actual thing for me that was somewhat newer, that is like revolutionary, and now like, it's eye-opening to me, and is actually one of the primary reasons why I wanted to make this video. And it's due to like the BRRRR method, which the BRRRR method is very common in real estate, where basically you buy a house, you renovate it, and then you refinance it. And this thing seems kind of not plausible, but if you have any amount of cash money, this is like the way to immediately start building your wealth. So even if you have stock market money, this might be the way to go about, transitioning. Like if you're trying to get out of a 9-to-5 job and trying to start some business that you know, that you can go this route where, let's say, you have $100,000 saved, right? Now, not everybody has this amount of money saved, but you can take that. You can take, let's say, $30,000, $15,000, and buy a house, and then renovate that house, and then put that house up for rent. And then in 6 months, you can cash out, refinance, and basically pull out every dollar that you put into the property, and sometimes more. Sometimes you can pull out 10, 20, 30. The number's really endless. You can pull out $150,000 extra against the property if it evaluates for that, right? If for somehow you were to find, you know, a house in a neighborhood or a desirable area where the houses are going for 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, right? And somehow maybe it's completely ran down, it's completely gutted, and you know, you bought it from some old lady, maybe it never even got listed on the market, which is the number one opportunity. And you buy it from somebody who just wants to get out of the property. Maybe somebody had passed away in that property or lived in it, and they just don't want to, you know, deal with the property. So boom, they sell this property for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. You do your renovations for some $50,000, and you know, you have $100,000 in it now, and you can turn around, cash out for 70% of that house's equity at $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and you can literally overnight increase your net worth by a substantial amount. Now, given a deal like that is something you're going to have to search around for. You might have to call somebody and talk to them and see if this is the, you know, if they're, what their interest level is in selling the property, and what potentially they're asking for the property. So again, these are muscles that have to be exercised, and after you kind of go through this whole entire process, right, that's when your eyes become opened. That's when you become awakened, and you have the ability to, like, oh, okay, this is something that works. Like, we're gonna do this again and again and again and again. And something like this, like given that same example I did with that property, that could immediately double your net worth overnight. If you take, let's say, $100,000 out of your stock market, you put the $100,000 into that property, and then it appraises for, you know, $300,000, you're going to be able to pull is it 230? I think it's 230. Could be wrong. 230, 60, maybe 240. I think it's 240. You'd be able to pull, I think, 240 out of that property. No, I think it's 220. Okay, but you'd be able to pull like 220 out of that property, cash in hand, and now you have $120,000 more than what you started out with. And you were able to accomplish that in, let's say, 6 months, because you did the renovations in 4 months, and you just had to wait the waiting period to cash out. So now, given you have a debt there now, but let's just say, for instance, a renter pays off that debt over the lifetime of that loan, you increased your net worth by double in 6 months, which you can't really do in the stock market, and you have a retirement fund of this rental property that's going to get paid off over the next 30 years. It's also going to appreciate in value. So, you know, it might be $300,000 right now, but it's going to be worth $600,000 whenever you go to retire, or $1 million whenever you go to retire. So, you know, again, immediately doubled your net worth. Then you have a retirement asset sitting there that you can basically let it pay itself off, and then pull the money out, and you know, not pull the money out, but sell that property at 30 years, and then boom.
You have to go straight? How are we supposed to go this?
But oh, and then also too, like 15 years later, 20 years later, 5 years later, you can also cash out, refi again if you want to. Like maybe either you paid equity down on the property, or maybe you maybe the house appraised for more money, and then you can pull the money out again. So I got really deep into real estate here, and I really didn't want to get that deep into real estate itself. It's just like one tool, and it's one scenario of like practicing that muscle to be able to like execute and do things. But once you see these things, you kind of you have an awakening that then just gives you the ability to, oh, I figured something out, let's execute on this. And then now you can just follow this continual process, and do this thing. And you can find models like this in all different types of businesses. You just have to kind of look around and start exploring and trying things out, and again, executing and working out that muscle. And then after some time, now you have the ability to, find different things. First of all, before finding things, you build the comfort, right? And so after you do something and you find out that it works, now you also have the comfort level, which is the most important thing, right? And what do I mean by that? It means I've heard about like the BRRRR method for years, and I'm just now like getting to the point where that's what we're doing. And, after knowing this information for 3 years, 5 years, I'm just now getting around to the point of like doing it myself, and now it's like aha moment. Like that's what we're going to do. That's pretty much all we're going to do. Like I'm calculating like the amount of money we have set aside for EPs, like investments, that amount,
Give me a minute.
it has to be managed.
Give me a fucking
It
minute.
has to be managed in a proper way so that we can continue this scaling and this growth, right? And again, this method is like the method, right? Versus like if we just bought a property outright that's move-in ready and everything like that, we probably won't be able to cash out refi for at least 5-10 more years, which means now our money's just going to sit in that property for 5-10 years before we can pull our money out. Now, real estate still offers a lot of other good advantages just buying a property outright, especially if you can make it cash flow positive by quite a bit. But long-term rentals don't do very well for cash flow positive immediately. So that's just something that this is one of the things we have to weigh. And again, this is the practice, right? The practice and the getting comfortable with things makes it to where you can find new methods that end up being the method that really propel you forward. Maybe this year it's like, okay, you just increase like your total income by $10,000 a month. The next year you kind of increase your total income by $50,000 a month. And then maybe the next year it's like you increased it by $100,000 a month and you quit your 9-to-5 job. And then the next year, it's at 150, 200. And now not only did you quit your 9-to-5 and you're doing, you're doing well financially. You don't have the 9-to-5 job and you're doing well financially. And then now you're going to also be in a phase of exponential growth where you're going to continue to grow your money year over year and just be able to live a more prosperous life, be able to employ people, again, it depends on your aspirations and goals. But again, you just have to practice things and start getting involved in things. Even if you don't have money to like buy a property or you don't have money to, start a business, like think about what you can do. Think about think about what you can do and start practicing on that, right? If you start practicing, you'll start to find out like, oh, I could even start like a smaller, like lower threshold business or something like that. Maybe it's mowing grasses. Maybe you start off by just practicing to call around a bunch of different places, like sales wise, and say, hey, like, I'm looking to sign contracts for the year of 2026 to mow your grass, to mow your lawn. I just want to know if you'd be interested, blah, blah, blah. They'd get a quote, you go quote them, and then boom. So you get like 5, 10, 20 contracts signed for people that are wanting to get their grass mowed. And now you have these contracts in hand, and you can find some way to go purchase a lawnmower or something like that, or a couple different options. You could either sell those contracts to another lawn company, or you could take those contracts and go to an investor that would maybe help you invest in buying lawn equipment. But again, you got to practice, and you got to practice all the different things, right? If you want to go for the investor to help you buy lawn equipment, you're going to have to practice like calling around for people and seeing who would be open to supporting you in that. You might find out that nobody's willing to support you, even if you have the contracts in hand. Or you might find that you have these contracts that you want to sell to another lawn company, and they're super down. You subcontract basically all the work out, and now you don't have to buy any lawn equipment. You have no investment other than your time calling, and you just say, bam, oh, I got this new business. Could run Facebook ads. Maybe you find a way to run Facebook ads extremely well. This is like Alex Hormozi, like that's where he kind of found like his true success. Was like, I think he got really successful in running Facebook ads, and then after he started running Facebook ads, it was just like game over from there. He was able to basically promote other people's businesses and sell them a bunch of business, and then boom, he was super successful, sold his like services as a business to other businesses, and became extremely profitable in that. And again, it's just the practicing of things before you find it out, right? You go from stages of not having money and being broke and not knowing like where to start and where to, but then after enough practice, you start to navigate and find out like, okay, that's not a very smart decision. Or like the automotive company thing that we're doing, we're kind of descaling that. We really don't want to be involved in it anymore. We want to get out of it. It's just, you know, when we look at like properties versus real estate, when we look at automotive versus real estate, the way they appreciate and depreciate is completely different from one another, and we really don't like that aspect of it. So it really has us like wanting to completely get away from automotive. We just don't see ourselves being in that industry. Maybe with Teslas and FSDs, we're kind of thinking about that, and we're kind of starting to pivot and lean towards that. So like if we do keep this automotive thing running, it's probably going to be primarily with Teslas and potentially getting into the robo-taxi network into the future. But you know, that's how we plan on executing that. But again, this is the practice. We're practicing these things. We're finding out, okay, that kind of sucks. We don't like that about this business. It's something we don't really want to go into. It's better we just cash out whatever money we have in that, and we put it into this other thing that we're doing. And also too, when you start doing a bunch of different things, like with the different businesses that we have, like opportunity cost is there. And so like if we're spending our time diddling with whatever's going on over here in this business, then it may not. It may take away from these other companies too much that it's just not worth it, you know? Again, so this is something that we found out through practice and comfort and stuff like that. And also too, like even with EP, like at some point, we're probably going to do so well financially that our time is not really worth the BRRRR method. Even though the BRRRR method is amazing with like being able to cash out, pull your money back out, we'll have so much money to invest that it's too slow to do the BRRRR method. You know, the renovations will take too long, and we just have things that can cash flow immediately. You know, again, this could be something that's years out, but you know, basically this is how like your like Vanguard and like BlackRock and all these companies, that's how they get to the point, and they just buy houses and they let them set for years. Because it's better they just buy the house now, they get the cash off their books, and then, you know, they'll get around to that property whenever they get to it. But like a lot of times you get constrained by closing deals, and you know, even if you're like new to anything like this, like you'll find out that like there's only so many deals in an area, especially like good deals, like good deals, right? And so after there's so many, you know, after you reach a certain size, now it's not even about finding the best deal, it's about just closing a deal, right? Because you don't want the capital just sitting there not doing anything. It's better it like gets invested into something and starts churning more cash flow into the business versus just stacking cash that isn't, you know, gaining you any interest or profitability or anything like that. So hopefully this was entertaining, educational. Subscribe if you like this type of content. Also, I didn't drive an FSD today, if you were wondering, because I have the trailer hooked up. So yeah, catch you next one. Peace.